Rev up your engines. Okay, what's with Toyota Venzas? They made them for a while, then they stopped making them, then they started making them again, and then this year they stopped making them again. So what's up? I mean, this guy just bought this used one. We're going to go through it, show you what's in them, but you know, why on earth? Oh, we're not going to make them. Oh, we're going to make them again. Oh, we're not going to make them. Well, the Venza's got a lot of Camry components, engine, drivetrain, stuff like that, but as you can see, it's kind of like a squashed down station wagon. Now, they call it a mid-size crossover SUV, whatever the heck that means, right? And just like the Toyota Avalon, it kind of was in no man's land in terms of what they're going to sell, because they have many smaller SUVs, they have many larger SUVs, and I guess Toyota thought, well, we're not going to sell this. Oh, no, we made a mistake a few years later. Let's make them again. And then now, oh, we're not going to make them, and we're going to have the Crown Signia instead. Toyota's trying to more or less get rid of a lot of their loose ends of, we don't need to make 5,000 different models. We're going to make less models, less motors. So these cars were by no means mechanical failures. They're excellent vehicles because, as you can see under the hood, as we pop it open, this one's got the 4-cylinder Camry engine under the hood. A nice basic engine, dual variable valve timing, and as you take off the beauty cover, you can see, hey, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got regular fuel injectors here. It is not complex. Now this particular one, you can see, has corrosion on it because it's a Massachusetts car, but the bottom frame and everything is fine. Guy checked it all out before he bought it. That you're going to see on any car with a salt in the atmosphere, because aluminum gets the superficial corrosion on it. It doesn't rust like steel, but it gets that white powdery stuff. In this case, it means nothing, and you can see the strut towers here. Okay, the steel's got rust. The bolts have a little rust, but that's just typical. It doesn't affect the structure of the vehicle. Although, kind of a funny story on this one. The dealer that sold it to him said they did $3,000 of work and said, shock struts, $689. So I decided to look around. See, this is old and rusty. That's the original one there. We'll go to the back. That's the original strut too. So we'll go to the other side. Again, original strut. Then we go back to the passenger side, and here we go. This one's new. Okay, they put one on. They said that was a $700 job. Come on, it's just one. And that's a bolt on and off one. That's one of those quick struts. I can buy those quick struts for like $99. It just bolts on the top, on the bottom. Very easy job, right? So they kind of make up stuff when they say they did things to the vehicle, but it rides decent. So it's just typical. They tell you they did all this work, and you know, most of it is a lot of horse manure when it comes down to it. But the vehicle itself, we're going to go through the entire aspects of electronics, mechanical with my giant scan tool. But then the scratch here that somebody hit the plastic, you can, well, wait a second, that's not even a scratch. That's just tape. He can take that off. The original Toyota wheels are still in pretty good shape. The paint's in excellent shape. This is what you're going to see on an older car though. The window molding will often, the rubber starts to break off. My wife's Matrix does the same thing. If you want, you can actually slice it off with a razor blade because it's chrome underneath, and it will be all chrome then if you want to go that far. Now this Venza is an all-wheel drive, so, you know, and you can see here again, the paint kind of came off of this. That could be repainted if you really wanted to, but there's nothing structurally wrong with the car. It's got decent space, right? It's got decent space. And the trunk's got a little slide on it as we open it up. It's got a nice little hide here, so you can hide the stuff inside. And there is a lot of space. And of course, when you fold the seats down, it's more like a hatchback. You can fit a bunch of stuff if you want to. And as we go inside, you can see it's got fabric seats that can last forever. More comfortable in the winter and the summer than leather, if you ask me. Gigantic glove box, a real key, and you can see, starts right up, nice setup, everything's easily seen. You can see It's got 103,000 miles on it. Has a 6-speed electronically controlled automatic transmission. Not a CVT, an excellent transmission that can run and run and run. They very rarely have any problems with nothing but maybe changing the fluid every 60,000 miles. All the windows are automatic windows. You can turn the traction control off if you want. Decide the wood grain isn't as good as my wife's Lexus because it's newer than my wife's Lexus by 10 years and the wood's starting to come apart here a little bit. So, not quite the quality of a Lexus, I do have to say. Now I got this thing for $11,000, so we're gonna get my scan tool and see what shape it's actually in. They're not notorious for having any serious problems, really. They didn't stop making them because the cars fell apart. They stopped making them because they were in another one of those weird price ranges. And there's so much competition in SUVs, even though this is theoretically a crossover SUV. I call it a squash down station wagon. We're going to see what kind of shape that it's in. Just realize one thing. This is a very conventional car. It's just like a regular old-fashioned Camry. 4-cylinder engine can last forever. 6-speed transmission that can last forever. Doesn't have turbo. Doesn't have GDI. It's not a hybrid with all that complexity. All the new ones, the replacement of this, the Toyota Crown, Signia, right? That's only going to be in full hybrid, which maybe you want a hybrid, totally different ball game, a lot of complexity, right? I would be very leery about buying 13-year-old hybrid with 100-something thousand miles. I'd be kind of leery about it, but something like this I wouldn't think twice. We'll see what shape this thing is after all these years. It's only got 100,000 miles, so I really don't expect any real serious problems. You never know. We'll do diagnostics, and it is a Toyota standalone diagnostics. Venza, North America, 2013, 1ARE 4-cylinder engine without smart key, okay. The interior is good. It's not sticky or anything. Some of those used to do that. This is nice and clean. The seats aren't worn. Doesn't have a sunroof. I hate them myself, so I'd be real happy. No leaks up there. We'll do a full fault scan. It's going through it pretty fast. For Toyota, it's got a lot of fault codes. It's got 11 of them. But, okay, number one, a startability fault. That happens when the stupid keys don't work right. So what we're going to do with that is, it's a very typical thing, especially this thing sat on the used car lot for a while. We will go to the fault and we'll erase the stupid thing. Dumb startability, we'll erase the code. All right, the tire pressure monitor. Data is not received because this car's old and the sensors, of course, have batteries in them, and 2 of the 4 batteries have gone bad. Who's going to spend money buy a tire pressure gauge for $10? I'd take the tires apart, and if you're going to change 2, you might as well change them all because they're all old. I'd just leave it alone. And the main body, driver's door, electronic control unit, communication stop. Those are history codes, and that doesn't mean anything because you get low voltage in a battery, that'll do it. Sometimes even if people hold it up too long, that'll short it out, so that doesn't mean anything either. That's the right door, the left door, the passenger door, right? That's high or low power voltage. When the battery was changed, it went low, it'll do the same thing. And the navigation system has a fault with the USB, but he doesn't even use it. People use their phones for that. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to erase all of that and see if any of it comes back. After he road tests it, now we're going to start her up and look at live data. See, it's got no codes now, but what we want to do is go to live data for the engine. Cold day, I got to hit it twice. Here we go with the live data. Remember, black's good, red is bad, and we'll start going through this stuff. Mass airflow's normal, engine speed's normal, everything's black, everything's good so far. Battery voltage charging, that's good. We're in closed loop. And look, our short-term fuel trim goes between 1.5%. It was 0 for a second. Long-term fuel trim is 0.7. 0 is perfect, so it's only off less than 1%. As you can see, 0 is perfect. It's perfect. Every once in a while it goes a little bit off. So, you know, there, one tiny bit off. So it's still running almost perfect. The cat temperatures are right. Hotter in one part, colder in the rest. And the advantage, it's a 4-cylinder engine, so it's a lot simpler. It doesn't have a whole bunch of catalytic converters like the V6s do. They cost a lot more money when they go out. The transmission data, you can see the battery cable was disconnected 2,346 miles ago. And when they did that, they probably replaced the battery, and that's going to give you all those stupid voltage codes when it had a low battery. So a lot of these codes, other than the tire pressure monitoring system, that's probably broken. Like I said, the batteries go out. There's no problems. We'll go through the rest of the data, looking for red data. Still all black, it's all good. An older car, but you can see there's a lot of information in these things. Speed of the cylinders are all perfectly exactly the same. It's amazing how they built these things. Let's take it for a spin. Back her up. Now it's an older car, so it doesn't have a backup camera, but it does have a parking brake. A mechanical one. Aha! Much better than electronic crap, so here we go, backing up. It's idling smooth as silk. Now you can shift it if you want manually, but I mean, come on. A car like this, people just driving around like race cars. It's a crossover SUV. Or as I say, a squashed down station wagon. Now I expect a little bit of a bouncy ride because it only has one new strut in the back and the other three have 100,000 miles. And exactly as I suspected, it's got a decent ride. But on a bumpy road, it's going to wobble a little bit more because three of the struts are still original. Now, why they changed one in the right rear? If you're going to change them, please change them in pairs. They should have changed the right rear and the left rear strut. And they only changed the right rear. So, I mean, hey, I don't know why they just changed one. That one must have really been bad. That's okay, right? If you wanted it perfect, you would have put all four struts on it, of course. And as we get to the infamous intersection where people drive like maniacs, we'll give it a little road test. Could have gone, but now there's one lane that's going to take a while. The trucks come by, that side's open, and of course the other side will be all filled in because they're messing with the power lines or something over there. All right, here we go, finally. We'll give it some gas, and just like a four-cylinder Camry, decent pickup, not a race car, but it's going to get you where you're going. That's no problem whatsoever. The thing is, for a four-cylinder engine, it's extremely smooth. It's not some little bitty three-cylinder turbo or a small four-cylinder engine. It's just about the right size for a car of this size. And not being a turbo means it will last and last and last. It's a 2013. That was long after these four-cylinder engines burnt oil. Toyota fixed that in like 2009, 2010. This thing doesn't burn any oil. Some of the people like V6s with more oomph to them, but I mean, hey, this thing is perfectly capable, and if you're in the snow, it is all-wheel drive. You're not going to get stuck. And of course, everything works on it. The AC, the heat gets super hot. It's basically a fancy Toyota Camry or a lower-level Lexus, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, they don't make them anymore, but what's in the name? They make cars that are very similar, except now you can only get them in hybrids. You have to buy the technology. They don't sell them like this with the four-cylinder, non-turbo, regular gasoline engine. They don't make them anymore in the United States. They don't sell them here. They've gone completely hybrid. Not this thing a month ago, I would have no qualms jumping in this thing and driving to California and back. They're just so solid, and they buy a car like this with 103,000 miles. It's nothing on one of these cars. And let's see if my guess about the trouble codes being because the battery was low and was replaced. Here we go, none of the trouble codes came back, so that was the problem. Even the compass still works. It says we're going east, and we're going east. Because the sun rises over there. So, as for the Venza, yeah, they don't make them anymore. They stopped, made them again, stopped again. But you can't blame the car. You gotta blame Toyota on that. They don't make them as reliable as this one. Simplicity, a four-cylinder engine. No GDI, no turbo. A regular 6-speed automatic transmission that can last forever. Now they're into hybrids. The replacement is the Crown Signia, which is only hybrid, cost a whole bunch of money. Guy bought this thing for $11,000. Hey, you know, you could buy more than 4 of these for one of those. And you know what I do? I'd buy 4 of these, park the other 3, and I'd never have to buy another car the rest of my life, right? So, now you know a little bit more about the Venza, so if you see one lying around for sale, and it's in good shape, you might check it out and see if it's something you're interested in. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.